Oh, hello world. It's me, your old pal, Dan Shaheen. Welcome back to Comic Book News. Thanks for coming, man. We've got a really exciting show today. I don't seem that excited. I'm usually a little more excited than this. I'm sorry, all right? Got stuff going on in my life. I had a little surgical procedure yesterday. I don't really want to go into detail about it. If you want to know, you could reach out to me. I'll send you some pictures. They're not fun. But everything's A-okay. Everybody's healthy, happy. And man, I had a show Tuesday night. This is another show that got delayed, scheduling snafus, and this one was completely my fault. I, like an idiot, scheduled this for this interview for when I was on medication and just loopy and just out of my head. So I'm really excited that tonight's guest was able to make some time in his extremely busy schedule to come talk to Comic Book News. And who is it? Keef Knight. Keef Knight. Man, I've known Keef Knight for a long time, or I've met him. I read his comics. I saw him at the Ape. I don't know, going back, 20 years? We're going to talk about his whole career. This guy's a cartoonist first. As a matter of fact, I booked him and was ready to go just based on because I knew he was a cartoonist that I knew that I liked and had a really interesting career. And I didn't even realize this guy had a humongous streaming show ready to drop on Hulu. And it just dropped a couple days ago. Woke. Okay, we're going to talk to Keef, man, about the journey from comics to Hulu and where he goes next. So let's not keep him waiting any longer. Let's bring him in. I've made him wait long enough. Keef Knight, welcome to Comic Book News.
Dan, I'm very, very busy, so make it quick. I there's so many things going on, and I can't believe that I even have the time to do this. But no, happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. I'm glad your procedure went well. I actually would have been really interested in actually doing the interview while you were loopy. That would have been actually very interesting.
Ooh, you should talk to my wife. It was pretty interesting. But Keef, we're here to talk about you, not me. We're here to talk about, man, so many things. Like I said, Keef Knight, the TV, streaming, Hulu's, whatever. Like, I talk to cartoonists, right? That's really what I care about. And that's how I knew you. That's why I booked you. And then I saw you've got this awesome thing based on you. Like, not just like based on your comics, but like based on you and who you are. Woke on Hulu. I want to put this up real fast. And this just dropped a couple days ago, September 9th. I've only had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes, but I genuinely enjoyed them. And more importantly, my wife really loved it. And now this is at the top of our list that we have to watch until we watch the entire season. So
excellent. It's super important that you watch the entire season. That's what will guarantee us a season 2. Like, people who just watch a few episodes and then just say, that's a bad sign for us. So you got to go all the way to the end. And if you go all the way to the end, then you'll see I have a secret appearance that I won't talk about. until the end of this show, I'll talk about the secret appearance. So
Okay.
it's an Easter egg. So it'll make people hopefully stay till the end of this conversation to find out.
Well, when I did find out you had a show, I started looking it up, and I started Googling for pictures of Keith Knight. And so what did I get but this? And if I had not known you, if I had not met you, and I go, that's not Keith Knight, because I've not seen that's a pretty famous guy, I guess, from The New Girl, which is not a show that I really know. But so I was really close to having a thumbnail with Keith Knight and that guy's face on it. And I avoided that.
No, Lamorne Morris plays a character inspired by myself in the show, and I think he just does an amazing job. I guess at capturing me, that's for everyone else to comment on, but just the amazing job he did in carrying the show, because he's always been sort of the best thing in anything that he's in, but he's always been a side character. So the fact that he gets to lead the show and really show how, he shows range in this, and it's really amazing. He did just a tremendous job. Well,
and you wrote this, co-wrote the entire series.
Well,
is that right?
No, well, I co-wrote the pilot, and then I was in the writer's room. And it's interesting with scripts because, people get credited for scripts, but it is a collaborative effort. And so a lot of people collaborated on the scripts And then up in Vancouver, where we shot, we went through them again to really sort of put my sensibility in the various scripts. It was very important to sort of convey the humor that I use. I've been known to sort of address issues through humor. That's like sort of my unique style, I guess. And so that was super important to make sure that the scripts had that. And so,
We're kind of going backwards starting with the show, but I think that's okay because I want to concentrate on your comics. So let's get all this TV junk out of the way, and then we'll get really into like the good stuff, right?
Sure.
Can I show the trailer? I've got the trailer queued up here, or at least part of it.
Sure. Show them the trailer. Show them the trailer. I've seen it already. Show them the trailer.
You too. Let's check it out.
Hey, Keef.
I did my first toast and butter cartoon in the bathroom wall.
Mm-hmm, it's still there.
I know. Someone drew a dick in Toast's mouth.
Oh, I was drunk.
Okay, I thought that was you. I'm an artist. It's important to preserve a little mystery.
You're not mysterious. Lenny Kravitz, he's mysterious.
Lenny Kravitz, Batman.
You're on your way to the top. Newspapers, TV show, movie deals.
So you're Keith Knight?
I am.
It's funny, I didn't think you'd be tall.
Happens all the time.
I just love your work and what you say with it.
Why is it that as people of color we're always having to stand for something in our work? Just the cartoonists.
Because the world's a racist place.
And that's why I keep it light.
Keep it light.
Yeah, keep it light.
Don't move. Central weed, the suspect in question.
What?
6 foot tall.
You got the wrong guy.
Copy that. This isn't the suspect.
I can't believe they did us like that. Are you cool? I ain't got time for these.
Over here, man. Mr. Policeman did a number on you, didn't he? Now you can be his. It's just like having a superpower.
Yeah,
No.
crazy with a superpower.
Oh, boy.
What's really going on, bro?
Earlier, I got my ass beat by the police. Now I'm seeing things.
Houston, we have a problem. Man, you woke.
Let's pop bottles, make cupcakes.
Did you guys lighten my photo? I look like Sammy Sosa. Am I too black for my own comic strip?
No, trust me. No one's gonna ever accuse you of being too black.
I'm sorry, what?
Down here, my brother. That's right. I'm a talking trash can.
This is all wrong.
I tell you what's wrong. Those man-bun, co-opting, gentrifying devils.
So you have about 30 minutes till they trap you in the sunken place.
Well, it feels like I'm already there.
Fact, what?
If you were me, what would you do?
You let this out, so you have to deal with it. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
You know what to do.
Boy, I ain't got time.
This is that moment in the Matrix. Do I take the red pill or the blue pill?
I've got both in my room if you want to experiment.
Boy, I ain't got time.
Wow, Keith, it wasn't what I was expecting, and I really enjoyed it.
It's so funny because I think this is a running theme in my career, which is with my band, with my comics, and with this. People always say, you know, it's a lot better than I thought it would be. It's sort of
well, I didn't say that, but yeah, man, it really, I mean, it's pretty clear. And in the show, you even weave in sort of the idea of having a show based on the cartoonist life. Like that's part of the show. And, you know, he even refers to himself, or his friend refers to him maybe as the next Aaron Magruder, which is probably my favorite joke in the first episode. Maybe that was in the second. Did you write that one?
Yeah. I know. That scene was probably one of the first scenes that I wrote, and I don't know if I wrote that particular "You're going to be the next Aaron Magruder," but when I heard that, I was like, you know, with the TV, blah blah blah. I thought the meta joke, like the whole thing of it, was really interesting. But that sequence where they find the wallet, when I wrote that scene, I was like, oh wow, I can write TV because it does a great job at establishing their characters, the Keef and the Clovis character, like how they react when they find this wallet there. So when we shot that scene, we were like, I think we got a show. So it was cool.
So way to really like jump on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon, buddy. Like, you know, because I know you're new to this stuff, right? Like this is not something you've been talking about for the last 20, 30 years in your comics.
Yeah. We, you know, and some people will say, did you shoot this after the George Floyd protests? And it's like, yes, we did it, and we had to CGI all the masks away, and it's kind of crazy how, you know, we've been working on this for a while, and we finished shooting the first season on February 28th, season 1, and literally a week and a half later, everything shut down. So we were so fortunate that it happened, that we got it done. And even in some of the later episodes, there's someone on a Muni bus in San Francisco, and they have a mask on because that's what the old Chinese ladies always, always have masks on. And people were like, you know, you added that scene after, or, you know, and it's like, no, it's just, I just remember talking about all the people that are on the bus, and there's always someone with a mask on. And even what Clovis says to them, which is like, we got patient 0 over there. She's either got the corona or she's got this or that. Like, we just wrote that in there. We were in Vancouver, so there was talk of it probably more there than before before the United States. So maybe that's why that was put in there, but it certainly was not added during the summer or in post-production. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, it's amazing. Well, I mean, because it's a theme you've been talking about in your comics forever. Like all of your comics are such a great mixture of like social commentary, like pretty heavy social commentary when you think about it, but with goofy fun, right? Like interspersed within it. You're obviously not the cartoonist that is portrayed in the show, in that you didn't rise to fame on a non-political comic strip or anything like that. You've been talking about this stuff from the get-go. So talk about, like, I don't know, how you started writing comics and started talking about these things, and when was that?
Oh wow, it goes way back, and I think a real big change for me was moving to San Francisco. I think San Francisco really showed me that you could do more than just a daily comic strip. So when I moved to San Francisco, I discovered the underground cartoons.
What year was that?
That was 1990. I came to San Francisco just kind of just after the earthquake. And if there's any time that's great to move to San Francisco, it's after an earthquake, because a lot of people leave town. There are a lot of vacancies. The rent goes down. So after the big earthquake, move to San Francisco. But
I think post-pandemic might be a thing too.
Yeah, well, but that's everywhere. So I think people are realizing now, especially all these tech companies, that they don't need to pay people all this money to live in San Francisco. All these people are working from home. There are people who probably moved back to whatever state they're in. They're paying nothing for rent now. And they're like, hey, this actually ain't bad. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of empty office buildings in San Francisco after all this is done. But
I'm one of those guys. I moved from San Francisco in a tech job, and I moved up here to the woods in Humboldt County, and I do my job uninterrupted for the last 10 years that way. So it's worked out pretty good.
I'm in the woods in North Carolina, so it's at some point I realized, like, why are we paying rent in an expensive overpriced little tiny cave when I can do my job anywhere. But it was also
okay. Well, you moved to a tiny cave probably in 1990. Back then, it probably seemed very expensive, but in reality, was actually within reach. I lived in San Francisco, even 94, 95. Like you could get a few people together and you could rent an apartment. It was a thing you could do.
I stayed in my place for 16 years and rent controlled. So we had a 3-bedroom for 14 something. And even when we were about to move, my landlord was like, "Are you sure you want to leave?
Yeah.
Are you sure?" And but I didn't want to be like one of those bitter San Franciscans that are like there for 30 years because they have great
rent control.
Rent control. And I shouldn't say everyone's like this, but I would be like this. I would be like, man, San Francisco was great back in the day. And now
yes.
So I didn't want to be that. So I got out.
I do that.
I got out while the getting's good,
Well,
So,
when was that? Just so when did you make your exit?
2007. 2007 is when we left.
That's a good timing. You got good timing, man.
I know when to leave a party. Even if it's a great party, I know when to leave it.
Okay, so you moved to San Francisco. You're inspired by San Francisco, right? The art scene, the people in San Francisco, the cartoonists, and everything else. How do you get us on the road? How you become Keef the cartoonist?
So I had already been a cartoonist. I've always drawn cartoons. I had a strip in my junior high newsletter, my high school newspaper, my college newspaper. But it really changed. I think for me, when I was a junior in college, I had an American literature teacher. My first black teacher I ever had was a junior in college. American literature teacher. He gave us Maya Angelou to read, James Baldwin to read, Richard Wright, Ralph Ellison. And when someone said, "Why are you giving us all black writers?" he said, "I'm giving you all American writers." And that sort of blew my mind. And so with my strip, I wanted it not to just be about just someone. It's specifically about an African American male growing up in America. So it was important for me to do that. And so when I got to San Francisco and saw that you could have a larger format strip and you could write all about, like, it doesn't have to be family friendly. You can write about all this different stuff. And I remember some of the earliest influences in San Francisco were folks like Nina Paley and Jaime Crespo. And they were doing autobiographical comics, about working as a janitor in a single occupancy hotel on the Tenderloin. And they were great stories, and Nina's doing
And where
stuff.
were these? Where was this stuff published, and where were you published at the time?
They were published in like local like free magazines, humor
SF
magazines.
Weekly, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but not even just the SF Weekly. Like it was like there were a ton of just underground mags there. I remember Filth. Do you remember how? So how long have you been there for?
Well, I moved to San Francisco in '94 to 2000, and then moved back in like 2010.
So early on, there was a strip, a comic newspaper called Filth.
Okay.
FILTH, and it was filth. it was pretty funky, and it had just a combination of underground cartoonists, and that was one of the earliest things that I was in, and it was free on the street, and
guys
it was,
like Matt's.
Yeah, Matt's was in it.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, Seth Maxwell, Malice. Who else? I'm just spacing on names right now, but there were just all these funky folks in it, and it was cool. And you had Comic Relief both on Haight Street and in Berkeley, and Comics Experience, which is still there now, and it just
the great Rory Root from a Comics Experience and Brian Hibbs, friend of the show. We did a Rory Root tribute episode. All about him. He was such a great friend and an inspiration to me.
Yeah, Rory Root. When I got married, I brought my wife over to Comic Relief in Berkeley, and so I brought Kirsten in and introduced him to Kirsten, and he was just super nice, and we didn't know the restaurants over there that well, so we're like, hey man, could you steer us to a good Indian place? And so he said, yeah, Rory loves food. And so he turned us on to this Indian place. So we go there and we just have this great meal, and we're about to pay. And the guy says, no, it's been paid for. Like Rory called ahead and took care of it, So
that is hilarious.
Yeah,
because
that's the type of dude.
And Rory did that. It's hilarious because Rory would do that for creators because he really appreciated like that you guys were the root of what's happening at the store. But if you went to a retailer lunch it's a different story. God bless that guy. I love him. Miss him every day.
Yeah.
So talk about how then we got into like cartoon. Like I remember you had multiple strips, different names. You've sort of played around with your branding and your venues where you publish. Talk to me about that a little bit, please.
Yeah. The original franchise was the K Chronicles, and I started calling it the K Chronicles in college. So when I showed up in San Francisco, I already had the name K Chronicles. And the first strip that I did that got published in a weekly, which it was the San Francisco Bay Guardian, and it was local color. And I did a review of a Beastie Boys show I saw at the I-Beam in Upper Haight. So it was the Beastie Boys, and then there was a little-known, unknown opener called Cypress Hill that was opening for them. And I just did it. I remember drawing about this guy who I was in the bathroom, and I was going to the bathroom. And the window in front of me, it was on the second floor, by the way. It was on a second. There was a guy outside the window that had shimmied up a pole that was hanging outside the window. And he was like, hey, man, can you take this screen off so I can climb through the window? And I was like, no. And I drew that, and I made fun of the bouncers and all this different stuff. And people really dug it, and I think that was like the first thing that like really sort of, I don't know, people were like, oh, that's the guy who does the auto-bio stuff, and I got into the SF Weekly. The regular gig I got into the SF Weekly, I got into because there was a guy who dug my strip who worked there, and he became the editor, and so I sent him a letter with a $10 bill stapled to it, and I said, "Don't spend it all in one place." And I got hired the next week. So There's a lesson to be learned.
Bribery works, right?
Bribery works. Bribery works. So.
What? If you don't mind my asking, that was a long time ago. What did you get paid for a strip like that? I'm curious what they would pay you for that.
Not much. I mean, and here's the thing: it barely changes. Like, I think I got paid like $25 per strip or something, and the key is to get into as many papers as possible. So, I think at one point maybe I was in like, I don't know, 30 papers or something at some point. You try to milk people, the larger cities, you try to get more money. I think at some point I was able to get, $50 per strip up there. Yeah, it wasn't, it was never lucrative. Let's just say that it was never lucrative.
Does the syndicate get a piece of that, or they get a different fee and that was your take home? Or I like the nuts and bolts on this show a little bit.
Back in the day, this was self syndication. Like the syndicate never did the alt weeklies. So I had to self syndicate. Back in the day, this was before the internet. You had these to every newspaper. So you had to finish it, then go to the copy store, make a bunch of copies, and then put it in, make sure they don't fold it and all this different stuff. So when the internet happened, it was like a blessing and a curse all at once, which is, oh my goodness, I don't have to pay for all this stuff. Oh my goodness, the internet's destroyed all the revenue of all the newspapers.
Right.
It's like, I can make deadline, but there are no deadlines to make anymore. So
okay, well, let's talk internet transformation then, because I looked up. I started looking up Keef, and I'm like, I know he did a strip and he did this, and I'm seeing you're doing books for Scholastic, you did Kickstarters, you're getting NAACP, or you're all over, Keef. I've done a lot of stuff. How do you make that career? Like, I don't see too many cartoonists that took that route. Like, it seems to me like you're on a kind of Matt Groening trajectory. Like, if I was to like draw an analogy to another career, hopefully woke will be the next Simpsons, but like, going from an alt weekly thing where you're getting nothing to somebody recognizing that you have something to say and a voice and amplifying that.
Well, I think if you asked 25 different cartoonists how, successful cartoonists, how they made their career, you would get 25 different stories on how they built it up. So for me, it was the alternative weeklies, but also it was, the share. I started the K Chronicles, but then I started Think too. I got recognized for the K Chronicles, but I remember, the K Chronicles jumped from the SF Weekly to the Examiner and the Chronicle, and they paid more. And I was picking up newspapers in different spots, but I also launched.
And you were daily though at one point in there. Was that?
Well,
that right?
No, I went daily with the Nightlife. So the Nightlife was a third strip that I kicked off in 2008. That's when I actually did get syndicated. I've been asked to be syndicates have been asking me to do a daily version of the K Chronicles forever, and I just kept on going, oh no, I can't imagine doing a daily strip, and I probably should have, because 20 years ago, probably 20 years ago is when it ended, but back in the day, if you got into a daily newspaper, like a daily syndicate 20 years ago, you were probably set for life somehow, some way. But I got in 2008, in the worst year of the newspaper industry. So it all went to hell. But we had our first kid, and I was just like, okay, I need some guaranteed income. Despite everything else falling apart, I can at least have this small amount of income coming in, and we moved. That's when we moved to Los Angeles too, because I was like, my industry is imploding. I need to develop something for television, because this is the only way I'll be able to continue to do the work. And as much as the Nightlife was too late to make it really big, I still love doing it. It's still the pinnacle of, doing a daily comic strip is a bucket list thing for me.
That seems like that was your thing, right? Like you're not. I don't know if you're into comic books so much, but I know
I'm not. I was always a newspaper comic guy, so a bucket list thing was, doing a daily strip, getting into Mad Magazine. So that was a big thing.
Oh,
And
what do you know?
Yeah, I was able to get into Mad. The New Yorker, which I finally broke through with the New Yorker. And also to have an animated Christmas special. That was my other bucket list thing. And the TV show is not quite that, but
it's animated throughout, so you're there.
And who knows? Like one of those days could have been Christmas. It doesn't snow in San Francisco.
But you
right?
didn't have a Christmas episode in the first season. I haven't finished the first season.
We did not have a Christmas episode. Although I have a really good idea for a Christmas road trip film. And so I'm hoping that I will be able to do that in this future. Hopefully my goal is to have like one of those crazy production deals where I can create all this different stuff for whatever, for Hulu or whoever wants me. I've got so many ideas. Anyway, but really it was sort of this hustle of, I've always been really cheap, and I've always been able to sort of culminate, like make a career, be able to live off modest means. So I would, sell zines, I'd produce zines, I'd do freelance work, I would do the comic strips. But then I started doing slideshow presentations, and the comic strip slideshow presentations were huge. I started to do stuff on racism, on police brutality. And
I think I saw a couple of those on YouTube. I think there's a couple out there.
Yeah, and that sort of, that really built up, because there were so many people who don't read newspapers, who had never heard of my work. And I just felt like I like getting in front of people and having conversations with people. I don't like being on the internet and going back and forth, sniping with people. I'd rather have a conversation in front of you. And so,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, these slideshows really took off, and I really love doing them. And I currently do a slideshow on America's racial illiteracy and how we don't teach anything about how this country was really sort of built on the backs of millions of stolen people, and people, we don't learn anything. So it's all new to the people I present it to. Yeah. And I use my comics and storytelling. I use humor to address these issues, but all this stuff led to woke, and sort of my ability to tell stories in the room is what sold woke. And so that's...
But let's not forget, though, Keith, you're a triple threat, because it's not just TV and comics. You've got your lucrative music career to fall back on, of course, right? So tell us for a second about your musical adventures.
That's really the saddest thing, right? Which is like, the two poorest things you can be are a marginal musician and an indie comics person. So I had those two things to fall back on. It's really, really, I didn't plan it very well, but yeah, the marginal profits came together when Jeff, the other prophet, would find my comics. When I was I was first giving them out for like $1 and Comics Experience on Divisadero, Brian Hibbs. And so this guy was a big fan, and he wanted me to do some storyboards or illustrations for him, and he paid me. He said, I can't give you money, but I will give you hip hop music. I'll give you rap music. Just tell me what you like. And so we got into this back and forth on what I liked and what he liked as far as hip hop. we turned each other on to different stuff, but I was also like, oh, I don't like this because of this and this and that. And so we just got into it, and he was like, hey man, like, do you want to start a band? And I was like, sure, because I had back east before I left, I had started a band in college, and we had a lot of potential, but I was planning on going to San Francisco. And I said to them before I left, I said, I will stay longer if you're all 110% in. But not everyone said they were 110% in. And so I came out, but we started the Prophets. And yeah, I mean, we had a really good run. We played Naked at the Fillmore, which was probably the highlight of not only the Marginal Prophets career, but my life. And also,
when you say naked at the Fillmore, does that mean something different than that sentence normally means? I don't understand.
No, the Bay Guardian would have their fundraiser, live nude bands. Did you ever go to one of those?
I don't know.
They'd have live nude bands, and they would raise money for like children's charities. But it was all like, there were bands that would play, but you'd have these contests, a spelling bee, you would have a tug of war, and whoever lost had to play naked. But everybody goes on knowing that they want to play naked. So we played naked.
Because you just kind of slid that, like, okay, Naked at the Fillmore, okay.
If that's going to be my, that's going to be the name of my bio, I don't know, biopic or...
Well, let's get into your comics a little bit more, Keith, because I got a couple examples up here.
Yes.
One of your recent books, They Shoot Black People, don't they? 20 years of police brutality cartoon. When did this book come out?
So this came out when I started doing the slideshows on police brutality. So I had been doing slideshows before then, but this is the first time I really focused on police brutality. So I collected all my police brutality cartoons because white people were saying, why is all this police brutality happening? It's Obama. That's why it's Obama. And like black people were like, well, it's about time you started noticing. And it's because everyone had cell phones, right? So I decided to go on tour and do this things to tell people that like this has been going on forever. And but after every slideshow, they'd say, do you have a collection of those cartoons that were in the slideshow? And so I realized, like, I got to put this together. So I put that book together to sell at shows, and it's crazy how, I never had them in stores or anything. And when the whole George Floyd stuff went down, suddenly everyone's just buying these books and
really.
And I don't sell them. I don't sell any of them in stores. And so I should probably get on that and get them in stores. But
you should.
Yeah,
you should.
Sure. This one is another strip that I showed during the show, and I use this as an example to people that you don't necessarily have to know how to draw to do a good comic strip. You just have to know how to write. Like having a good comic strip is more about writing than it is about drawing. If you have good ideas, good concepts and stuff.
But Keith, doesn't hurt if you can draw too, man.
Well, that's a nice thing too. It's I can draw too. But, a lot of these things that you're showing, I didn't start doing portraits until a lot later, but I've been influenced by Maury Turner of We Pals, and he would do the Soul Corner. He would always have like a fun Black History fact, like in the corner of his Sunday strips. So that was always a big inspiration to me. And so I would love, it was important for me to continue doing portraits of folks, not just who passed, but folks who are alive too. And then taking quotes. I love doing the search for the quotes, and because you learn a lot about the folks, and then you inevitably stumble across somebody else you want to draw. So that's really
well, this stuff was all new to me, Keith. Like, I love your cartoony style. I'm a big cartoony fan. I love strips and everything, all that stuff. But I had not seen this stuff before. And this is, and now I go like, wow, he can draw other things too. Like it wasn't really evident before. This stuff is really nice looking. I love it.
Well, it's nice because all through college, I drew caricatures in the summer in Faneuil Hall in Boston, and I was the worst caricaturist. I was terrible. So it's nice to find this middle ground of like, it's not caricature, it's not portrait, it's cartoony, but it's, I'm glad to have found this style like many years later. But I was a terrible caricaturist. I could tell a joke though. I could always tell a joke.
Okay, well, maybe cue one up. Maybe we'll do one at the end of the show.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I meant in the drawing. It would always be funny. That's all.
Well, talk about if somebody wants to sample the Keith Knight oeuvre, where do you tell them to go, right? There must be people now that are like, oh, okay, he's a cartoonist, Hulu. Where do they go?
Someone just wrote that yesterday, and they said, here's, Keith Knight, here's the place to find Keith Knight comics. And so then they started talking about the complete K Chronicles, which came out with Dark Horse. And I hope Dark Horse has an opportunity to sell more of these. But, this was when everybody was doing these super gigantic collections. So this is 500 pages. And I realized that, like, I couldn't really keep these in my house. It cost way too much to mail. Like, bringing them to shows, it was just too much. So I let them sell them. And I personally started just self-publishing my own smaller collections. And so I sell those off of my website. And that's the place to get them. Like, all the, if you want anything new from me, you go to my website. And then you can pick up all the latest stuff from me. But that 500-pager played a huge role in getting the show, which is this.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to. Well, if you want me to return to it, or I can just tell you why this played such a huge role. I mean,
no, please, yeah.
And this is the thing about having the daily too. Like, the daily was a nightmare. It was 11 years. I can't say it was a nightmare. Everyone at the Syndicate was great. It was fun to develop all the characters. Clovis in the show, Woke, didn't exist. He was created for the nightlife, like the making the jump from the K Chronicles to the nightlife. The K Chronicles is my diary strip. Think is my single panel editorial strip, socio-political strip. The thing about the nightlife, a daily comic strip, people just want to check in with characters. Like, it's all about characters. People love these characters. They want to check in, see how they're doing and stuff. So it was important for me to develop. That's why from the K Chronicles, it's all about me, and everyone else is a side character. But in the nightlife, my wife becomes a major character. Gunther, Clovis, there's all these characters, and you want to have all these tropes. So there were all these different things that I could return to all the time through it. And what the daily proved to Hollywood was I could create on a regular basis. I could be funny on a consistent basis. Man. And when I went into to pitch the show, I always took a copy of that 500-page book in there with me. And when I was through with the pitch, I would stand up, I'd whip that book out up in the air, and then it would splat on the middle of the table, and I would say, there's your first 10 seasons. And I would walk out. And while we were shooting season 1 of Woke, Rob Gotti, one of the Hulu executives, said to me at the table, he said, I will always remember when you pitched how you tossed that giant book up in the air and it splattered on the table. He said, that's what sold your show. And so theatrics work. Remember the $10 bill I stapled? Theatrics work.
What do you think? There's any chance they were impressed by the forward by Kyle Baker? Because I know I would have been. That would have been to me. I would like. Tell me about Kyle Baker a little.
In reality, it was the forward by Kyle Baker that sold the show. So I'm delusional. No, I mean, I've been super fortunate to have. I mean, Harvey Pekar did the intro to my first book.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I drew, like, I got to draw him talking about the book, and Gary Trudeau did a blurb for my first book. Like,
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and Kyle Baker, of course. And Kyle Baker is
Trudeau, I think, is the most underrated comic strip cartoonist of like the last century. Like, as far as his writing, and his art.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, it's a testament to, like, yeah, it's about. But it really is about the writing. I really think it's about the writing. But yeah, I mean, Trudeau. I just remember that the libraries that in the town I grew up in, Malden, Massachusetts, the libraries had two comics. They had books of Charles Schultz and they had books of Gary Trudeau. So I was just raised on that stuff. And they had early, like, I was reading early Gary Trudeau, like his college strips and stuff.
Yeah. The Yale stuff.
Yeah, and his were the first time I saw, like, black characters that weren't just characters with lines on their faces. They were actually doing black things. So, like, a black character would be like, "Hey, do you want to contribute to the campus, Black Panther party?" And the guys were like, "Oh no, I'm kind of broke today." And the other one's like, and so the kid writes a little X on the guy's door.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Was that Rufus, or I forget. Ginny's husband, Slade. Ginny's.
Yeah, I can't quite remember which the character were, but which ones they were. But
stuff from the 70s, the Doonesbury from the 70s, just really sharp political stuff. And then the arcs, like you're saying, the character arcs in that strip are like amazing 20, 30-year arcs of characters growing up and changing, and really amazing stuff.
He broke a lot of the stuff that comics are generally the characters just stay the same age and that's it. But he broke everything. And, so more power to him.
Okay.
And he did TV and went back to doing the daily. I personally can't imagine. I think if all goes bad, I'll launch a toast and butter strip. I'll launch a real toast and butter strip.
Well, Trudeau he did, I think, 3 seasons of a show on, I think, Amazon, which was a pretty good show. I really liked it, but I was pretty surprised that he's just like, well, in some ways I was surprised. He's like, I'm just done with comics for now. I want to do this. When he's just has such a legacy and just such a long running career to break it off that way. But I was glad to see him come back to the strip.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine going back to the grind of it, just the daily.
Yeah.
Like, I could do 3 a week. Like, that's what they should do with the older cartoonists. This is like, okay, you guys got 7 days. Let's just figure out, like, 3 of you do. So I'll be one of the old retired guys that come back and do 3 a week, and then someone else does 3, and then someone else does 3. I don't know, something like that.
All right, I'll get Dick Brown on the horn. We'll talk. I've got what have I got? A original Mort Walker Beetle Bailey sketch here somewhere that I
wait a second. You're not sitting out on a balcony over a lovely city. I guess the sky is not orange enough.
Well, no, I am, but it's like things have calmed down a little bit. There's, the riots have kind of slowed down. There's, but things are calmer. Things are a little bit. What's that?
Wow, you got everything with you got special effects, all that stuff.
Oh, sorry. Wait a minute.
That is amazing.
I'm sorry.
That is amazing.
That's what we do here. Oh, wait a minute. You're getting a peek behind the scenes there. Uh-oh. What's that? Comic books back there.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. There you go.
You want a peek here? How about a rare peek behind the scenes at Comic Book News? Woo!
There you go. I have my bathroom's right behind me. So, that's the nice thing about this. Even though we haven't been able to do any Comic Cons or anything, I'm still able to use my Comic Con background back here, which is nice.
Well, that's the magic. It's movie magic. That's we're in this age now. We're really living in this virtual world now. And it's been pretty good for comic book news. Let me tell you that. It's been the ability to get somebody like you, Keith, who I'm sure you got a lot of things you could be doing. You got a lot of other people you could be talking to. So I really appreciate it.
I could be eating right now, actually.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
lovely meal.
we're gonna get you out of here.
My lovely wife is right over here, and yeah, I'm.
We're gonna get you out of here. I want to open up now to the comments, though. We're gonna get a little bit of Q&A.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then we'll get you out of here, man.
Yeah.
One thing though, I wanted to let's see. Oh, the only other book I didn't show here was this, and I just wanted to touch on that for a second. Tell me what this book is about, because I've never heard of it.
Jake the Fake. This is a tween book that I'm doing for Random House, and it was written by Craig Robinson and Adam Mansbach. You might know Adam from his classic "Go the F to Sleep." That parody children's book, and also Craig Robinson from The Office and Hot Tub Time Machine. And Adam approached me and said, "Hey man, I want to do this tween book," and he just said, like, I'd love for you to design the characters and do the illos for it. And so this is the first book, and the third book is coming out. It just came out, so definitely check it out. And it's a fun series. It's a fun series, and it's a lot of drawing. It's a whole lot of drawing, but it's nice to. It's you know what? It's nice to do like a convention, and there's some people that come up to me because they love the nightlife. Some people come up to me and said, "Oh my God, I've been reading the K Chronicles forever. Oh my goodness, my kid loves Jake the Fake." And now perverts and weirdos will come up and go, "Oh, I love woke."
Yes. Yeah. You're hitting all the demos. I love it.
There you go.
Okay. We got a few comments here from the beginning of the show. I'm just going to go through what we've got. Anybody else out there, if you got questions you want to ask Keith, this is your moment. Okay, Justin Rogers, longtime fan of the show, says I have woke on my Hulu Q. Try saying Hulu Q, and I plan on watching it this weekend. The show looks really well done.
Hulu Q. Now that sounds like a great sort of like an outdoor barbecue with Hulu playing on a big screen. Like that would be a Hulu Q. So I'm gonna suggest that.
Okay.
In Southern
Well,
California.
you know what? Hula's tie in to today's post-credit cameo in our end credits, Keith. So thank you for queuing us up for that. Coffee Breath, longtime watcher. Thanks, Coffee. He's a supporter. By the way, he's a member. Coffee Breath pays membership here at Comic Book News. $1.99 a month gets you in the end credits. So, guys, hit that join button down there. There's multiple levels of membership that let you just what do? They let you shower money on me.
Look at that. Wow.
In multiple ways. So, please consider that. Okay. Robert Gidley says.
Now, Robert Gidley is one of my longtime fanboys, and I'm very happy to see that Robert Gidley's up there. His name is I nicknamed him B Giddy, so there you go. I'm so happy.
Love
to
it.
see that. Hey, Robert.
Okay. Kristen.
Wow, Kristen. Yeah, like she's someone I know from Massachusetts, so that's really cool. Like going way back. This is another thing that I really dig is like. So many people from different, I grew up in Boston and then sort of established my career in San Francisco and then did the TV thing in Los Angeles. And now I'm in Chapel Hill and Buttercrunch. That's the name of my old band from college.
Oh, okay.
But it's nice to hear from so many different people that dig the show. So cool.
Hey, Ron Avery.
Hey, Ron. Yeah.
And by the way, this is the Night Nation turning out from a tweet like 7 minutes before we went live here. So this is really Unite fans. That's awesome.
Excellent.
Keith Knight.
Oh,
that's what I think.
So Marshall Todd is the co-creator of Woke, and he is on. Look at that. Marshall is responsible for a lot of some of my favorite scenes in the show. So, and Marshall is also the co-writer of the original Barbershop movie. So
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. You know, it's really cool because in the pilot, there's the scene outside the barbershop with the talking trash can. And the trash can is voiced by Cedric the Entertainer, who was in the original barbershop. And I remember saying to Marshall on set, I was like, man, this must be really weird for you. Like, you know, barbershop and Cedric. And he didn't even realize it until I told it to him. And so that was kind of cool. But
and not
Marshall,
just Cedric. That reminds me, when I was watching your show and I see your pen start talking to you, I go, I know that voice. I know that voice. He's one of my favorite voices, JB Smoove, right?
Yeah, JB Smoove. There's so many amazing people. Nicole Byer, Jack McBrayer, Keith David is in the show.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And just listening to him as he's doing the lines, you know, we're all just listening, going, wow, man.
Gravitas.
Gravitas. Yeah. Okay. Keith, we have one more line. It's this is Keith Knight. Please leave a message. No, I'm just joking. But
okay, what are we gonna hear? Wait a minute. Okay, Heroinberg says San Francisco early 90s music scene was poppin'. Did you play with Beatnigs, Disposable Heroes of Hiphoprisy?
We did play. I think we played with the Disposable Heroes of Hiphoprisy. I think we came in we started a little too late to play with the Beatniks, but we've played with Michael Franti a number of times, and so that was really cool. We played a lot of crazy shows. We played with MDC back in the day, and we stole their guitarist, so that was kind of cool. I remember we played a show in Oakland, and we shared a dressing room with Tesla, and so that was a pretty interesting mix of people. But there was a lot of neat stuff, a lot of neat stories back in the day. Marginal Profits, so many fun things. Yes.
Thank you, Heroinberg. And I'm sorry, Keith, I want to take a brief digression because Heroinberg is one of the many comic book news viewers out there who has sent in comics. They actually mail me physical comics. And if you want to be a guest on this show or have your comics reviewed on Comic Book News, you just email cbn@danshaheen.com. And you know what we're going to do in our next episode, Keith? I just got to show you. We're going to bring in a little something we like to call the $1 Million Comics Camp.
Oh, okay.
So this is where I'm able to take a look at the comics, and I'll even pop a PIM particle and I'll shrink down. And here we've got Heroinberg comics right here. We've got, look at this 3-volume hardcover graphic novel set somebody sent me in. Gladstone's School for World Conquerors. We're going to review this puppy. We got Jim Rugg's Kickstarter, Octobriana 1976. We got the world's first blacklight comic, by the way. We'll be reviewing all this stuff and more in our next episode, the $1 Million Mailbag Show.
I like how you get small like that. Can you make these small like that?
I could try. Let's see. I'll bet I could. Woo! How's that? That's the best I could do.
Yeah, that's not so impressive.
I'll make you a little bigger. Here we go. All right. Back. That was a great distraction. Let's go back. Let's go back to our comments. Oh, Dances with Sheep, one of your early collections, right?
Yes, that is one of my earliest collections. And I have to say a shout out to my old San Francisco dentist, because she still has a Dances with Sheep poster up in their lobby. And it's a drawing of me fornicating with a sheep. So it's I don't know if they've realized that at any point in time, but it's a family dentistry. So
in San Francisco, though?
In San Francisco, yeah.
Okay, so, well, that's different. There you go.
Yeah. All right.
I think I bought your last for sale copy of the Complete K Chronicles some years back. Is this out of print? Is this a collector's item sure to skyrocket in value?
I don't think it's out of print. I just think it's in a warehouse in Dark Horse, somewhere in Portland somewhere. But I hope that Dark Horse is able to sell some more copies now that the show's up. So we'll see.
Hey, Keith, you follow any current comics? Keith's not really a comic book fan, or are you? Are there any comic books that like artists or writers that really like did it for you? Kurtzman, I would assume.
Well, it's funny because I never thought I was consciously influenced by Kurtzman, but people would always talk about, oh, Kurtzman, I see Kurtzman in your work. And then it wasn't until I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, I see how that is, how I was influenced by that. But I think it was probably, I just saw his stuff in some Mad collections and stuff and was influenced by them. But as far as following cartoonists now, I mean, you putting me on the spot. I don't know. I can't even name anybody right now. But I just enjoy. I don't know. Like, I think Lalo Alcaraz is doing amazing stuff right now. I think Chris Britt is doing really amazing stuff. Ann Telnis is doing really good stuff. And a lot of these folks are political cartoonists. But as far as like other cartoonists, I love autobio cartoons. But I don't know any names.
Joe Matt?
I don't know any. Well, yeah, I dig Joe Matt's Peep Show, but I'm just saying about like current folks like right now. I mean, there's a lot of really good.
Joe Matt is very, very slowly writing the next issue, drawing the next issue of Peep Show as we speak, I'm sure.
Well, it's interesting because he moved to Los Angeles, and I think he was like developing something, you know, based on his comics. And
I thought for HBO is what I remember reading a long time ago.
He's still there, so he's either making.
Well, he's been back and forth. He was in San Francisco. I'm not even sure where it. It's all about
really?
it's all about where he can get the cheapest rent right now. And,
really? Oh, okay. I thought he was still in Los Angeles. But if he's in San Francisco about getting the cheapest rent, then...
Well, he was. I'm not sure where he is now. He was supposed to be on the show, and last minute flaked like I knew he would. So I had another guest already set up and ready to go. So we.
Okay. All right.
And I love Joe Matt. He's one of my favorite cartoonists, and we're gonna have him on the show sooner or later. All right. When will we hear about a second season for Woke, and when does that decision get made? I just want to make sure everybody knows if you watch it, watch every episode, binge watch it. Heck, leave it on all night while you go to bed.
Yeah. We don't know yet. Like, they have to look at all the analysis and look at the numbers and stuff. And believe me, like, when we hear about it, you will hear about it, especially you, sir. Mr. Gidley, of course, you will know. You will probably know before I know because you know everything about me. So,
Millions of Dead Cops / Multi-Death Corporation.
Yes. Oh, that's MDC, the band.
MDC.
Yeah. Yes, and in fact, our guitarist that we stole from MDC has. He just made his own wine, and he's going to send me a bottle, which I'm very excited about. So,
okay. Oh, I know now it clicks. I know who you're talking about. I saw an interesting documentary about his winemaking. I think.
Really?
Recently, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so Justin Rogers says Octobriano was a fun read, and it was. This was Jim Rugg's Kickstarter Blacklight comic, all done in Blacklight ink. That is amazing. I got my black light for it.
You see how long it is?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it's a joke. That's a joke, son. That's a joke.
Yeah, but I don't see color, so I don't. Sorry.
There you go.
But tell me about your Kickstarter. You did a Kickstarter back in what, 2015 or 2012?
Yeah, a million years ago, and it was sadly. The everything with the show sort of started rolling while I was producing it, and you know, everyone's been super patient with me, and they've sort of watched this. I mean, you know, they know what I've been doing, and so now it's culminated in the show coming out, and this is the time. This is the time to get the thing done. And my management has been on my back about it because they said we want to shop this project around.
Yeah,
so,
more.
So yeah, I've been working on it. I'm teaching my children to backslide or do the moonwalk, and hopefully we'll have something to you sooner.
Oh, this is for I was a teenage Michael Jackson impersonator.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That was the name of the book. So one thing we're going to be doing, we're going to be not changing, but shifting focus a little bit on the show. And I'm going to do a lot more Kickstarter stuff, but I'm going to follow the life cycle of these Kickstarter projects, right? And I want to go from I want to buy in and be excited and follow it through to delivery and review the final product when it's out and just maybe even talk to the creators. And so Keith, maybe when yours is ready to ship and ready to go, maybe you could come back in and we could promote it a little bit.
I would love to do that. And it would be a gift if 2020 ended on a decent note where that gets done and we get a second season. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, last question from Sequential Geek, longtime watcher. Have you read Ron Wimberly's Prince of Cats?
Ron's a pal of mine, and I'm so excited that this is going to get developed. Spike Lee is supposed to be directing it, I think. I totally hope that this thing is moving forward. Ron is amazing. He's an amazing creator, and just a really cool guy. So that was sort of the big thing for me. And he said one of the nicest compliments about Woke, which was, he said, the bar is high. He said the bar is you've raised the bar so high that when everyone's developing stuff after, people are gonna be like, I want to make sure it's got to be like woke, So
I agree, man. I agree. It was I don't want to disparage, but it was a cut above in production values and everything else. The animation and stuff. I know that's not cheap to do, no matter what. And the level of talent, the quality of talent, and the gags are funny. The writing is good. It's solid.
Yeah, no, believe me. If someone told me, that everybody who's involved in the show would be, they go, yeah, you're gonna have the guy from Workaholics and the lady from SNL and all these amazing people involved in it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. But it all just came together. It's just, I don't know exactly how, but it's amazing how many planets just aligned and just, all across the board. So very lucky, very fortunate.
Keith, you're an overnight success, and it only took 20 years?
No,
25?
30. I just said that. I'm a 30-year overnight success.
Yeah, that's right. That's all it took?
Yeah. That's all it takes. And also it takes moving to Chapel Hill, North Carolina too. That's the other secret. So you got to do that.
Well, shout out to Chapel Hill and Research Triangle, the coolest named area of North Carolina. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the liberal area of North Carolina. Here's the thing about North Carolina. Yeah. From the outside looking in, it seems like a nightmare. And that's good because it keeps the rent low, right? You always hear outside of Florida, North Carolina probably has the weirdest, most terrible stories. But, again, we're in the Research Triangle. There's a lot of colleges here, a lot of, it's a place where Californians come and people from New York come down and move here. And it's like sort of this liberal bubble in the middle of North Carolina. So it's pretty cool.
Home of Red Hat, Red Hat Linux, one of my favorite companies out there. So
okay. Oh, yeah. Red Hat means a lot different now. I wonder if Red Hat, is like
oh yeah, I wonder. I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
they've thought about changing that. Well, and obviously, you know, just on the final, a huge Trump supporter, of course, right? I mean,
yes, of course. No, I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore when it comes to that guy. Like, it's like, we are seeing. People will look. People are going to ask us, like, so what did you do when he was doing all this stuff? Like, now Americans can't sit there and go, well, what did the Germans do when Hitler was coming to power? Like, and I don't.
You see it.
I don't want to compare him to Hitler in the sense that, because I don't think I don't think I think he's truly just, it's not him, I don't think he's thinking that far ahead or anything, but it's just a mess, man. It's a mess. And people are, it's just a shame that there are a lot of Americans out there that pride themselves on, I don't know, like that ignorance is a virtue. I think that's a problem, and we have to stop doing that because we're better than that. So,
yeah.
Or maybe we're not. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're not.
Maybe we're not. But man, it's worth trying. So
yeah.
And Keith, you've been fighting this fight. You're not new to the struggle. I got this in my notes. You've been fighting this fight and talking about these issues that are now just in the forefront of everything in our culture. You've been talking about them for 30 years now.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is the first state I've ever lived in where they show just nonstop political advertisements, because this can be a blue state or it can be a red state. It can be a blue state, it can be a red state. And so just nonstop political ads. In California, that never happened. In Massachusetts, that never happened. So it's just a weird, and they come here all the time. Pence is here and Trump is here. And you can almost smell it in the air. It's just like, ugh, what is that? Oh yeah, Trump's in town. So enough of that. It's time for me to go and eat.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I really appreciate it. You're doing good work. I'm super happy that your long, hard work paid off, because there's nobody working harder to do a daily comic strip and self-syndicating, all those things that we know didn't make you a lot of money at the time, but you knew they were leading to something the whole time, and I'm stoked to see it pay off for you, man.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I want to sell original art. How much do you think I should sell my original art for? I don't do that enough.
More now that you have the show. More. I was looking at your price. Well, let me buy a few pages first. I'm going to contact you about that for sure, and then we spike your prices.
Yeah, this is what I noticed is like the moment the show went out, people started buying all this inquiring about original art. So I am going to pump up my prices.
You need to keep, because it's a huge investment thing for people right now. Original comic art has become of the rich investing class. They're pouring their money into that stuff.
All right. I'm going to do that. All right.
But cut me a couple pages first at a reasonable price. Come on, we'll do a show. We'll promote.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can find.
Okay, buddy. Thanks. You've been here long enough. You've been so patient. Thank you. You're a big Hollywood star. And you made time for comic book news, and I'll never forget it, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll see you around. Guys, that was Keith Knight. Man, we've gone a while now. That was super fun. Oh, there's a few more comments here. Good night, Keith. Stay safe. For sure. Guys, I want to thank you for checking us out. I want you to stick around for a second. We're going to run the closing credits. We got a post-credits cameo as usual that's going to deal with, as we alluded to, cultural appropriation, and it might even tie into Hulu or something like that. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please take a moment, click subscribe. Hey, hit like on this video if you liked what we had to say. Hit dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. Engagement is important. I want to know what you like and what you didn't. Leave a comment in the real comments, not just in the chat necessarily. And we'll see you soon. When? Next time.